Trick or treat, and thank you for tuning in to Daniel's News 411. With Halloween fast approaching, I thought it'd be a suitable time to talk about ghosts and the places they inhabit. First of all, some of the backstory on Halloween. It started as a Celtic festival in the places of the United Kingdom, Ireland, and France. It marked the end of the summer and the harvest. The church had All Saints' Day on November 1st, therefore the day before became known as All Hallows' Eve or Halloween. People wore masks and costumes or wore off spirits, including carving faces and turnips, which later became pumpkins as they were more abundant. Ghosts and spirits tend to manifest in places where there has been pain, suffering, trauma, violence, death, and other dark events. Prisons are a place that tend to hold the souls of the departed. The Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, has some of the worst criminals in history, including Al Scarface Capone. They treat the inmates horribly. They are not allowed to speak under the threat of torture. One winter punishment would go into the snowy courtyard and have freezing water poured on them. Many of the patients on death row would try to sell their soul to the devil, believing that God had given up on them. A demonologist who they were investigating was attacked by hostile spirits. Another time, he tried to cleanse the place and the spirits tried to stop him. The prison operates from 1829 to 1971. It is currently a museum. The famous island prison Alcatraz is also reported to be haunted, set in the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay, California. Alcatraz has known to be the same horrific criminals. Al Capone was held there too, and people can still hear him playing his guitar in the shower. Bebop held the worst inmates, as well as Native Americans and Civil War soldiers. It was originally a Civil War prison. The tunnels beneath the structure is called a citadel, called the Dungeons of Alcatraz. One Confederate soldier, Jim Cook, was dismembered and thrown down there to die. Some believe he still wanted prison. One holding cell was supposed to have the presence of a demonic being with red eyes. Every person who's been there heard and saw him shortly before he went insane. There have been many reports of hearing disembodied voices and hearing odd sounds. There are escape attempts made from Alcatraz, but there has never been any confirmed evidence of ever making it to the mainland and being at large. Most are recaptured, drowned, fell victim to sharks, or froze. The water in San Francisco is very cold. Unlike other prison residents who are given cold showers, Alcatraz gave them warm showers. Their bodies never used chilly water. People who died in Alcatraz or died trying to escape from Alcatraz might very well be haunting the place out of revenge. The prison was shut down in 1963 because of the cost and the erosion from the sea air. It has now served as a tourist attraction. Asylums are other places spirits tend to linger. The Dixmont Insane Asylum or Dixmont State Hospital had a horrible reputation. Once there, the patients were in hell. They were used as guinea pigs for experiments. Then one of the most violent symptoms were kept in the basement. The place became overcrowded with beds lining the hallways. It eventually closed due to high operating costs and suitable land. The building has since been mostly demolished. Getting rid of the building does not get rid of the spirits. Plans to build other things on the land have been proved unsuccessful. The Waverly Hills Sanitarium, south of the city of Louisville, Kentucky. It was used for patients with tuberculosis. People were just sent there to die. There was a chute where bodies were sent down to keep them up in the laurels. Waverly had to be set outside the city to prevent the spread of tuberculosis. In 1942, cures diseases were discovered, and the sanitarium was closed due to the fact that it no longer served a purpose. There have been paranormal sightings. A girl in the corner crying when someone approaches her. She disappears. In room 509, a nurse hung herself, and her ghost still inhabits the sanitarium. Visitors see ghostly figures along with disembodied voices and objects moving on their own. If instead of you enter the building, you never truly leave. In Athens, Ohio, there was the Athens Lunatic Asylum, later named the Ridges. It was built to provide humane treatment for the mentally ill. It felt victim to overcrowded and string harmless its patients, performing the bodies and other humane procedures. It was operated from 1874 to 1993. Improvements in healthcare were found. The property now serves as part of Ohio University. It used for many purposes, including museum and student housing. However, the violence that occurred there in the 119 years served in the asylum has caused spirits to continue to haunt the building. Many students have been unable to stay in the dorm rooms located there due to paranormal issues. Part of them might be the diagram that the 5 cemeteries in Athens form. Another reason could be it was built a Native American burial ground. As hotels are also hold phantoms, has been around for a long time. The Biltmore, Miami, Coral Gables holds a dark past. It was a World War II hospital. The essence of injured, maimed, disabled, and dying soldiers might not want to leave. There is also talk of the mobster Thomas Faith Walker haunting the 13th floor. He was shot when a poker game went awry, so he never checked out and stayed behind to guard his winnings. The elevator goes straight to that floor by itself, and 2 cameras have caught orbs of light floating around. It's scented as cigar smoke still can be smelled, and his laugh can be heard right before a gunshot. One employee has resigned after being locked in a room with no one there. The hotel is still in business and has nightly ghost tours. Hotel Boulderado in Boulder, Colorado is 100 years old. First opened in 1908, it has hosted many famous guests, including not limited to Helen Keller and Robert Frost, and is now in the Boulder Register of Historic Places. A murder was rumored on the 5th floor somewhere in the teens. Ever since then, ghosts and employees have reported ghost sightings there and on the floors. A Native American guest was placed in the room where the murder supposedly took place, and he said, "I cannot stay here. I sense spirits." They had to relocate him to a different room. There's a painting on the staircase of a woman in a white dress whose children died in the hotel. There have been sightings of her walking the halls late at night. Room 302 and 304 have reports of disembodied voices and electric appliances going on and off by themselves. Those rooms have guests felt sitting on the edge of their bed. Windows have also been opened and closing by themselves. They have a new wing of the hotel where there have been no ghost sightings, yet the older haunted wing still stands as the main structure of the hotel. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado is a fine bed looks over the beautiful Estes Valley, complete with mountain creeks and meadows where the Ute and Arapaho tribes used to live. The story of the hotel began when inventor Freeman Oscar Stanley arrived in the valley gravely ill. He went there hoping to get his health back, and one summer he was well again, and true to the mountain air. He and his wife Floyd decided to open a posh hotel. It was opened in 1909. Despite being in a remote area, it still had features such as electricity, phones, modern bathrooms, and a housekeeper, and cooking staff in professional attire. The hotel itself has been known for its numerous spooky encounters. Guests have heard voices being touched when no one is there. In the 1970s, horror author Stephen King and his wife Tabitha traveled to Estes Park for a weekend. He had a terrible nightmare when staying in room 217. Nightmare inspired his book, The Shining. Room 217 had a house rotation before then. On June 25th, 1911, a flood knocked out power, and a gas leak occurred in that room. Head chairmaid Elizabeth Wilson came to the room with a candle that was lit and had caused an explosion. Wilson survived but was thrown from the room to the dining room located on the first floor. Wilson has since passed away, but her ghost has taken on her job. People who stay in the room have seen her, and they who the room cleaned, the suitcases arranged. However, only wed couples should stay in that room. Unwed couples have found a freezing person getting into bed with them while they slept. Guests at the hotel can also go on ghost tours they provide. Queen Mary was a cruiser that was once used to prevent soldiers. In 1942, there was an accident off the coast of Ireland. Mary ran to her escort, HSM Saratoga D-41. 338 soldiers lost their lives. They either drowned or were pulled under and sliced with the propellers. The lower levels of the ship are supposedly behind the areas in the pool is said to contain a vortex. The ship ceased traveling in 1967 and is currently marooned in Long Beach and now serves as a floating hotel. Older cities have had a long time to have events saying ghost spirits to arise. Near St. Augustine, Florida, there is a lighthouse that is well believed to be haunted. 3 young girls drowned while it was being built. There are moving objects, sounds of giggling, and footsteps. There are all signs of late keeper. It now serves as the St. Augustine Maritime Museum. They provide ghost tours there. St. Augustine also has a haunted jail. It is all used with the stench of sweat and rust lingering in the air. Tour guides cannot explain the sounds of clinking chains or the moaning of a man begging for mercy. People in the prison, some say they may not, the people who hung there may not want to move on to the afterlife, and more than one guard is quit after hearing a disembodied voice. The Jupiter Lighthouse in North Palm Beach County, Florida, itself had been a set of 2 deaths with keepers while painting, and 2 sisters died there, and they have been seen since. James Hebringen is supposedly haunted due to all the problems it faced with disease, hardship, harsh weather, starvation, and the ongoing war and conflict with the Puritans since the British founded it in 1607. Charleston, South Carolina is another older town with hauntings from the days in the Civil War. There have been ghost sightings at the jail and the Yorktown graveyard and both the Fort Sumter and Moultrie that now are historical national parks. Savannah, Georgia is arguably the most haunted city in the United States. There are several paranormal occurrences in the Sorrel Weed House. At the old well Weeks paint carts, the ghosts of its slaves have been seen. The historic court squares as Madison and Corral are haunted, along with Pirates Restaurant. Also in Savannah, the famous wildlife cemetery is known for ghost stories like Little Gracie. In 1889, Little Gracie Watson died while playing in the Posaki Hotel in Johnson Square. Since then, her ghost has also been seen silently right along, wearing white. There are numerous places in Savannah that offer ghost tours for the public. Everyone has heard of the Salem witch trials, and Salem, Massachusetts is known for abundance of supernatural hotels. There is ensuing paranormal activity reports at locations including the Joshua Ward House and the Hawthorne Hotel, and the old Burying Point Cemetery. Cold areas, disembodied voices, unexplained shadows, and physical sensations lead to a broad reputation for hauntings. New Orleans, Louisiana is a low-lying town. Its French Quarter neighborhood has a strong concentration of voodoo and paranormal interests. The Crescent Hotel in Eureka, Arkansas, to be haunted hotel in the country. It was first a luxury hotel, then a girls' college, and was then bought and turned into a cancer hospital by Norman Baker, claiming to have a cure for cancer. They were false. They gave numerous unorthodox treatments to other patients, and he defrauded them out of millions of dollars. He was not even trained in medical profession. He was eventually arrested, bottled out of his supposed cures, and tissue samples from his patients have been discovered buried in the backyard. It is once again a hotel, and those willing can go on a tour and see the morgue with its own icebox. People there have noticed cold spot, things moving, and orbs of light. One man fell from the roof to his death while the hole was being built, and he still haunts the hotel, specifically room 218. Some devoted people just don't want to leave their house. Our nation's Capitol building, the White House, has its own ghost. Go the ghost of our 16th President Abraham Lincoln himself has been seen lounging in his bedroom there. There is also the forbidden catacombs located beneath the building. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, is seen to haunt Graceland. He is commonly seen in the mansion, usually in the bathroom where he died. Towns famous for slaves like that aforementioned Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, Washington, or Louisiana, D.C., also Baltimore, Alexandria, Richmond, Virginia, have many ghosts of oppressed slaves who unclosed what happened all those years ago. As the name suggests, ghost towns can hold spirits. A lot of ghost ones were bound to the decline of wealth. The towns were created for the gold rush or a stopping point between travels. When the line stops, the towns were passed by. People left for a more lucrative life in a more well-established town. Other towns had no choice but abandoned because of natural disasters. Either of these war events could have well caused angry spirits to arrive. Some lost their mourning, left for fortune when the mine caves ran dry. Others lost businesses. They were hard to build when the town was abandoned. When someone lost due to a disaster, they may want to rest in peace. America isn't the only country that is famous for ghosts and hauntings. There is the United Kingdom, Ireland, China, Japan, Russia, Germany, the Philippines, and Scandinavia. Great Britain and Scotland and Ireland are littered with castles that have notoriously reported to be haunted. One could also remember the catacombs of Paris, a large network of underground tunnels filled with the bones of a myriad of Parisians. They were created in the 1780s, after the bubonic plague ravaged Europe for 7 years, and the graveyards became very crowded. Paris created the catacombs as an alternative to their overwhelmed cemeteries. Miles of graves could be a hotspot for paranormal activity. Now, the most famous place known for horror is Transylvania. It is a region of islands on a plateau, surrounded by mountains in the central northwest of the country of Romania, in the central, eastern, and southern eastern Europe. It is the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler, who is the basis for the character Dracula and Bram Stoker's novel. Once again, thank you for tuning to Samuel's News 411. Have a safe Halloween and follow me on social media. Link in the description. Is it getting hot in here? It's getting hard to breathe. No, no, that's happening. No, no. Oh!